People say, I'll get saved later. I'm going to go out here and do this, and have complete misunderstanding about sin. One of my favorite sermon titles of all time, I don't even know the guy that wrote it, I just read it. One of my favorite sermon titles of all times, he titled a sermon, One More Night with the Frogs. And he took his message from Moses' encounter with Pharaoh in Egypt when God brought the plague of frogs. And Pharaoh says, okay, I'll let them go. Just get rid of these frogs. And Moses said, okay, when do you want me to get rid of them? He said, tomorrow. One more night with the frogs. Why not now? No, just one more night. See, that's why people are. I will serve God, but give me one more night with the frogs. One more night doing this. You just completely misunderstand how painful sin is. Just give me one more day with the cancer. Give me another year with it. I'll be all right. Let me have this cancer for another year. Folks, it's a cancer. And it needs to be avoided. Secondly, the reason why procrastination is such a bad idea, the obvious one, is that you can't presume upon tomorrow. James 4:13 says, Go to now, ye that say, today or tomorrow we will go into such a city, and continue there a year, and buy and sell and get gain, whereas ye know not what shall be on the morrow. Ye know not what shall be on the morrow. For what is your life? It is a vapor that appeareth for a little time, and then vanisheth away. Well, this is what he literally is saying. Come close and listen to me. You who say we're going to do this or that in the future, you don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. Your life is a puff of steam that's here one moment and gone the next. Jesus talked about a man who had a farmer who had a bumper crop come in one time. And he said, what am I going to do with all this extra food? I know what I'll do. I'll tear down my little barns and build bigger barns. And I'll say to my soul, you have much stored up for many years to come. Sit back and take it easy. Jesus said that night, God spoke to the man and said, Thou fool, this night your soul is required of thee. Then who shall all this be? He was planning for all of this in the future, presuming he had a future. And he didn't have a future. So many are like that, the presumptuous Jews in Isaiah's day. Here's what they said in Isaiah's day. They said, Come ye, say they, I will fetch wine, and we will fill ourselves with strong drink, and tomorrow shall be as this day, and much more abundant. It's just going to get, it's going to go on and on. Life's always going to be the same. Not realizing tomorrow will not always be the same. We know that death is certain. The day of our death is far from certain. We know it's coming. Everyone in here, if Jesus tarries, we're going to die. We don't know the day, but that'd probably affect us a little bit if we knew the day. But the reality is we don't know the day. There are thousands of people who woke up this morning not knowing that they had woke up in this world for the last time. That's reality. That's not a story. That's reality. Folks, I've done for funerals from babies to elderly people. My first funeral I ever did was for a 1-year-old. Over when I pastored in Woodruff, I did 2 funerals in a matter of about 30 days. One of them was a 16-year-old, the other was about 24, 25, both of them murdered. Folks, I'm going to tell you something. Life is uncertain. That's why I'm telling you. That's why the Bible says, now is the accepted time. Today is the day of salvation. And we need to let people, that's why we should be panicking about getting the gospel out, because the future for so many people is uncertain. And today is the only thing you have assurance of. It's not a game, folks. This is heaven or hell. And the consequences could not be any greater for people. Making that decision to serve God is not something to play around with. It's not a game. But people gamble with their souls like it's a game. You know, I've heard people say the biggest gambler in the world is the one that has the most to lose. Well, if that's the case, then the sinner is the biggest gambler in the world. Because every day they live without Jesus, they live with the chance that they could end up in hell forever. Folks, that's a gamble nobody in their right mind ought to take. I'll tell you something else. The longer you wait, the worse your odds get. You're gambling with your soul every day you wait, and the odds get worse every day that you're going to be right with God. I read years ago the peak age of conversion in the United States is 12 years old. And after 12 years old, the odds of you ever becoming a Christian steadily decreases. Odds get worse. Why? Because sin not only enslaves, sin hardens people up. Every time, listen, I'm going to wrap this up in just a few moments, but listen, every time a sinner hears the gospel, something happens. Every time. One, they either get saved and they're changed forever. Or number two, they say no, and when they say no, they become a little bit more calloused and a little bit more hardened. That's why the Bible says 3 times in the book of Hebrews, never forget this warning. Today you must listen to his voice and don't harden your heart. Today you must hear his voice and don't harden your heart. 3 times he says that. The Bible speaks of those with a seared conscience and those who, being past feeling, have given themselves over to lasciviousness. There are people who have been raised in church, knew what was right and wrong, at times felt conviction, and they're out there today, they don't even give a second thought to God. How do you go from being a tender-hearted person in church to being like that? Because that's what sin does. The more you reject God's Spirit, the harder and more calloused you become. And the less likely it is you'll ever serve God. So you serve God today. Now is the accepted time. These are good reasons. I'm going to wrap this up with this. Something else you need to know. The gospel question is a 2-answer question. You either answer one or you answer the other. There's no other answer. It's either yes or no. And a lot of people try and make themselves feel better about the kind of person they are by saying, well, my answer is yes, but not now. No, that's no. Because it's always in the present. I'm not one of those people that says no. I'm just going to say not now. Yes, but not now. But the reality you're saying, when you say later, think about that for a minute. When somebody says, I'll get saved later, why not now? I mean, let's delve into what's really going on in your mind and heart when you say later. I don't want to stop what I'm doing now. So it's saying later it means that you're impenitent. I don't want to stop. Why aren't you stopping? Why aren't you becoming a Christian? Because I don't want to stop doing what I'm doing. I don't like what I'm going to have to give up. So we can try and make ourselves feel better, but in reality it shows a corruption in our heart. It's the very reason why we need to get saved. That idea, I'll get saved later. Well, that means there's the sin that you're doing that's harming you, offensive to God, harming others, you're just not willing to give up. Now is the accepted time. I'd like everyone to stand if you would.